Today we're going to be continuing working on this design, the UI UX part, by creating the home page or the home screen, which is the most important part of this whole application that we are designing for. I'm just going to be starting here by duplicating this screen, and let's just remove everything here except the status bar, because that is a common element that will be on all of our pages. And now we can start working on the home page here. Okay, so how do we start? The first thing we want to do is we want to have like a header. This header is supposed to have an identity and a navigational points, right? So the identity means basically our logo. So we can just go to assets here, creating this file, and under branding here, we can just take the logo, and we can either insert instance here, or we can just take it and drag and drop right here. Okay, let's go back to files. So this is a bit too big here. So I'm just going to take this and let's just decrease its height to around 36, maybe would work, or 32. Let's see, 32. I think that's a good size, I think. So I'm just eyeballing it here, and it appears to be a very nice size. Now, one thing to note here is we didn't have borders for how long our innermost content could extend. The reason for that is everything here is centered and there isn't really an overflowing point. So I didn't really see the point in creating a grid system to outline our left and right edge borders. But here, since there will be lots of content and not all the content will be centered, we will have to apply some grid layouts. I'm just going to create a layout grid and change it from grid to columns, and change it from 5 to be 12. So we're going to be using a 12-point grid system, and we're going to be dragging the rulers here to the left edge here. Then we're going to be scrolling out, going to the right side, and again dragging one of our rulers there. Now we can just remove this. We can actually, what we can do here is we can take this, create a component, a layout grid component from this. We're going to call it default or DEF. I'm going to create the style, and I think it's something worth having in our branding here. So I'm just going to create a frame here, which will be like around 400 maybe by 400. And this will be our grid system. So let's just take it down here. Let's go 32 pixels difference, and we're going to be applying this default right here. Okay, let's go back to design now. And from here, we can just, okay, actually, it is worth it to have it there, but let's go back to branding. And let's change the default settings here to be visible currently. So since we don't really need it to be shown right now, but if we need it, we can obviously just go there and right click here and sorry, and just apply it here. Great. So obviously we have our good lines here, the space here, so we're fine in that mark. So let's just continue. Now I'm going to take this logo here and place it on the left side, and now we need something for the right side. Now here we can go back to the XNX icon pack, which we discussed about previously. This will be the icon pack I'm going to be using for the whole of this course. You can find it for free on the Figma community, so just go ahead and grab it from there. Or if you're watching this while the full course has came out, there should be a link to the Figma file for this Figma file, so you can just take the icons from there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this the vector itself. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna go to assets. We have icons here. So we're just gonna be doing the same thing. I'm gonna paste it here. Control Alt O to outline stroke. And I'm gonna call this the menu, the hamburger menu, but it is still a menu. So I'm just gonna make the height 16 pixels and I'm gonna make it our default white color. Okay, great. So now we can just take this, make it a component, copy it, and let's go back to the design here and just paste it here. Okay, so around 16 pixels works fine, I think. It looks good. The only thing we're going to be doing here is we're going to be taking this, putting it inside of a frame. This frame would be something like the same size as this one, so maybe a bit bigger. So it's just going to be having 40 by 40 and no gap at all, no padding at all, and just central lined. Then we're going to be having a fill here, and this fill would be basically some sort of color, which is off this dark one. So the easiest way, as I showed you before, is just to go to the background color. This is 111. So, or you could just use the eyedropper tool. Then you could go from there up a bit here. So 1A seems to be light enough. If we look at it in this perspective, maybe go 1 minute, one up, so 1B here. Then I think this is very nice. So I'm gonna go from this. This will be our gray. Around 300, I would say. Then let's go back to branding. And we already have two gray colors here. I'm just gonna duplicate this one. So it is gray 100, gray 700, which we didn't name here. Gray 700, then gray 300. So let's just take the 300, put it here, and apply the color. So you can see we're going from the darkest to the lightest. So now we can go back to the design. And we already have applied it here. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to apply the full here since we already had this full corner radius. And actually we should be applying the corner radius to the branding. Now I'm not actually going to be including the grid here. I don't see the points. I think the best way of doing it would have been to just have some illustrations to show how the grid works on a 12-point system. But we don't really need that, and there's no need to complicate things. So I'm just going to use this instead for the corner radiuses. Corner, right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag out a square here, or a rectangle. Actually, it's just the square, 64 by 64. Let's go 32 gap, 64 by 64 here, central, top left actually alignment here. And we could call this full, and we can just apply let's let it be the brand color, and we can just apply for the corner radius the full here. So we are creating a very nice branding system here. So now we can just go back to the design parts, and we already have applied it here. Here you can see the variable. So now let's just drag this to be aligned properly. So now we will call this our menu toggle. So this will be our toggle BTN. Also, I think we should go to the assets here and call this the reset icon and call this the menu icon. Now let's go back to design. Let's group them into an auto layout frame. I'm going to call it the nav bar or the header. Let's just call it the nav bar, and let's just give it an auto gap. And everything seems correct here, except let's just central line this. And we can just copy it, go to components, Let's duplicate this and we're going to call the new frame navbar. And I think it's better if we align it properly. Then Control Shift R here. And let's make it a component. Copy it. Let's go back to the design. Control Shift R. So now we have our navbar here. Now notice that we should be applying some more prototyping here to make this toggle work. We need to show our navigation for this, and there are some more prototyping that we should be doing. For example, this button here should have some hovering, actually not hovering, but pressing animation. So we're going to be dealing with that in the next video, where we're going to be taking the home page and this uh, button here for the error page, and we're going to be creating some cool interactions from it. But for now, I think this is high enough. Let's actually just take the home page down. Now let's continue. So since we are now done with the navbar, we could officially get into the actual core home page design. And I'm going to start from creating a header, a headline, tagline. So I'm going to call it "Listen to what you want." And let's make this enter here, our default font. It should be letter spacing of 0 pixels. For now, we might change it. Also line heights. Let's make this semi-bold. And let's make it a bit bigger now. 64 a bit too big. 32 maybe. 32 might work. Maybe just a bit bigger here, 48. Or 40. Okay, something like this. Then we can drag this in here. Okay, let's just drag this in like this. And this will be our headline here. Let's just see how it looks, and it looks quite nice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to create a font style or text style for it. I'm going to name it a bit large, I would say. So above the base, I'm going to call it extra large, semi-bold. Actually, it should be SB, not SM. So let's actually fix that here. I'm going to go to the branding. And first of all, I would have to apply this. Instead of SM, I'm going to be SB for semi-bold. And we should be changing this. Edit style, then SB. Then let's duplicate this. Let's make this XL. So this will be XL, SB. Should be 40 pixels here. And nothing else should have changed. Now let's change this overlap here. Let's fix it. Great, so we are building our design properly here, and we already have our text style imported. So now let's continue with creating the next part, which is arguably the difficult part of this home section, which is going to be the actual selection part. So the selection is, there are so many radio stations, obviously, on different frequencies and different countries, lines, like. So we should create an intuitive selection UI that will be easy to use, but will look good. So let's see how we can do it. First of all, there are two choices that the user should make. The first choice is the country. What country's radio system or what country's radio channels is the user wanted to listen to? So let's just start here. Since I'm based in Ethiopia, I'm just going to say Ethiopia for here. Here you can say whatever you like. You can say UK, India. You can say Nigeria, whatever you want. So for now, I'm just gonna say Ethiopia, and we're just gonna select this, and this should be smaller. So I'm just gonna go with the base font here, and also since this will be a drop down. Obviously, we're not going to be creating the drop down today, but rather in the next video where we are working on prototyping. But since this is a drop down, we want to have an indicator. I'm going to go here to the arrow section, and I'm going to take this vector here. Let me just copy it, go back to assets here, and just paste it in. Control Alt O, obviously. Then let's give it a white fill. Let's make it 16 pixels. Let's make it into a component. Actually, first let's rename this down arrow icon components. Then copy it here. Let's go back to the design and just paste it here. So now it is too big. So what we want to do is we want to decrease the size to around 8 pixels. And since we outlined the stroke, it shouldn't change how it looks. So let's actually decrease it to 6 pixels. That looks much better. I'm going to select both of them, then group them into a frame. I'm going to call this drop down. So drop down. So for this drop down, first of all, I want to have some padding, around 16 by 16 padding, with a gap of around 48, since we want there to be enough space. Then let's give this our full corner radius. Then we will finish by giving it our gray background here, which was, I believe, gray 300. And I think this is a bit too big. So let's actually decrease the padding to be 12 by 12. And this should be 40. Okay, I think this is a good size for a drop down here. One thing I want to do is I want to change the padding on the sides to be 16. Just because when you have a pill container, it creates the illusion that there isn't as much space on the sides because of this huge chunk of space that is being cut out. So it creates that illusion. If we have it 12 by 12, it creates that illusion that there isn't enough space at the sides. So we want to increase the side space or the side padding, inline padding as it's sometimes called. So we want to increase it just a bit here. Now what I want to do is I want to take this, I want to cut it out, go to components, let's duplicate this, bring it down here. And this will be for the drop down here. Let's spell it correctly, drop down. And I'm just going to Ctrl-Shift-R, paste and replace here. And we don't want to have Ethiopia here. Instead, we want to have some other text, like item. So now we want to take this, make it into a component. We want to take it by copying it, go here, and I want to paste it in. And now let's just change the name to be Ethiopia. And we are ready here. Let's just bring in the actual grid lines to position it perfectly, and I'm just going to position it at the side here. Great. Then I want to bring in the next part here, which will be the AM to FM selection, which is a very important part again, because different countries and different areas have different frequencies in which they use. So maybe some people are not as familiar with AM and are more familiar with FM, and other people are more familiar with AM instead of FM. So let's continue. It's not going to be difficult. It's going to be very simple here. So let's just create FM here for one selection. Actually, let's start by creating the component. So this will be selection. selection A. Actually, let's just call it A here. And this will be selection B. And let's start by giving them some spacing here. This will be one selection. Let's give it around 12 by 12 pixel gap, or yeah, I think something like this, and no gap. Then let's give it some sizing. It should be high content by high content here, central aligned, and let's give it our full corner radius. Then let's remove B. Then let's duplicate this one and call this B. Now I want to give this a fill of, I'm not sure, some color. Maybe let's make this the brand color to indicate that it is the selected one. And let's now give this another brand color. This brand color should be a different one here. So this color should be from the gray 300, which is what we were using previously. And from this, I want to go a bit lighter here. Okay, let's go back. Let's select this. Let's go a bit lighter. Okay, something like this. Now we can take both of them here, and this will be a selection here. Selection. So it should have pretty minimal spacing, 8 pixels. Then I'm gonna go with the same thing we did here. The padding 16 by 12. What I want to do is I want to have them both to be at the same height. So since this is the baseline, I'm going to make it around 42 just to even it out. And I'm going to use 42 here as well. Now, since we said that I want to take these two and I want to make their height fill container. And I want to decrease their padding actually. I want to have a padding of 8 pixels by 8 pixels. Actually make it even smaller. I want to have 4 pixels by 4 pixels. Then I want to have a full corner radius here. Finally, let's give it the gray 300 background color. And we are left with this sort of very nice design here. Obviously, we don't want to have a greater gap than there is padding. We'll be having 4 pixels maybe, or I think that's quite nice. If I want to go 4 pixel gap, I want to increase the padding just a bit. So we are left with something like this. So I want to now cut this out. Let's just cut it, Control X. Go to the components here. I want to duplicate this one. Let's bring it down. This will be a selection. And you see how our design is building up with so many elements like drop down, selections. It's coming up quite nicely here. And let's make it a component here. Before continuing on, let's actually position everything correctly. Okay, great. So now I want to copy this, go back to the design, paste it here. And here, I want to have this be FM and this will be AM. The reason this FM is currently have the more visible high visual hierarchy background color, which is the brand color, is because it is the current selection. That means at initial load, the FM would be the selected transition channel. So yeah, great. So now I want to position this right here, and I want to take these two, Shift A, and I want to have this to be some picking information or filter. Let's call it the filter. Should be also again here, which is perfect. Let's make sure it is aligned to the grid lines, central line, obviously. And this is where we are currently. So I think that's quite enough for today. I don't want to overload you on one part or one video. So we're going to be continuing with the rest of the homepage next time. Um, Obviously, if you have any questions regarding what we did today, please feel free to ask them down below in the comments. Obviously, there isn't a perfect spacing here. We're going to be working on the spacing next time. What I want to do is I want to have 16 gap in between the starting point of the application and this navbar. So around like something like this here. Or what we can do is we can just take it here and make it 0. And we can go to components, give it a 16 padding uh, gap here. So, okay, so we can, something happened here. Okay, no, so we don't want a selection. Okay. Yeah, let's go back to design, and this is where we are. We're going to be working on the rest of the design next time. On the rest of the homepage, I mean. Thanks for watching today's episode. If you have any questions, drop them down below in the comments, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my abilities. We're going to be continuing with the homepage, home screen actually, next time by building many different complicated and very informational elements. So, yeah, thanks for watching. See you on the next